Hello, I welcome you to a discussion on the topic named as Health, Illness and Healing. I have divided my lecture primarily into 8 sections. In the first section, I will discuss the concepts of health, illness, sickness, disease, healing and wholeness. Following this, in the second section of my lecture, I will speak on medical sociology. The third section of my lecture will be dealing with the role of medical anthropology in health, illness and healing. The fourth section will focus on classifying health problems in the society. The fifth section will highlight cultural and social factors that affect health. The sixth section will portray health, disease and illness among different tribes. The seventh section will be discussing the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. The concluding section, that is, the eighth section of my lecture, will focus on health, illness and healing in the age of globalization. According to World Health Organization, health is a complete state of physical, mental and social well-being and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. According to the Webster's Dictionary, health is defined as the state of being hale, sound or whole in body, mind or soul, especially the state of being free from physical disease or pain. The word health was derived from the Old English word health, which meant a state of being sound, and was generally used to infer a soundness of the body. In one of the articles of World Health Organization named as Redefining Health, Hippocrates was credited with pioneering the move away from divine notions of health and using observation as a basis for acquiring health knowledge. He was credited with encouraging a focus on environmental sanitation, personal hygiene, and, in particular, balanced diets. Let food be thy medicine, and let thy medicine be food. He theorized that what we currently regard as health might be defined as the extent of a delicate balance of 4 fluids: blood, yellow bile, black bile and phlegm. Ill health, he believed, resulted from an imbalance of these fluids. Virtue defines health as a dynamic state of well-being characterized by a physical and mental potential which satisfies the demands of life, commensurate with age, culture and personal responsibility, while Sarachi defines health as a condition of well-being, free of disease or infirmity, and a basic and universal human right. According to Kenneth M. Boyd, illness has 3 definitions. 2 of them are off the way. The word was used up to the 18th century to mean either wickedness, depravity, immorality or unpleasantness, disagreeableness, hurtfulness. These older meanings reflect the fact that the word ill is a contracted form of evil. The third meaning, dating from the 17th century, is the modern one: ill health, the state of being ill. The dictionary defines ill in this third sense as a disease, a sickness. Looking up sickness, we find the condition of being sick or ill, illness, ill health, and under sick. A Germanic word whose ultimate origin is unknown, but may be onomatopoeic. We find affected by illness, unwell, ailing, not in the healthy state, and of course having an inclination to vomit. To Professor Marshall Marinker, illness is a feeling, an experience of unhealthy, which is entirely personal, interior to the person of the patient. Often it accompanies disease, but the disease may be undeclared, as in the early stages of cancer or tuberculosis or diabetes. Sometimes illness exists when no disease can be found. Traditional medical education has made the deafening silence of illness in the absence of disease unbearable to the clinician. The patient can offer the doctor nothing to satisfy his senses. Again, according to Professor Marshall Marinker, sickness is the external and public mode of unhealthy behavior. Sickness is a social role, a status, a negotiated position in the world, a bargain struck between the person henceforth called sick and a society which is prepared to recognize and sustain him. The security of this role depends on a number of factors, not least the possession of that much treasured gift, the disease. Sickness based on illness alone is a most uncertain status, but even the possession of disease does not guarantee equity to sickness. Those with a chronic disease are much less secure than those with an acute one, those with a psychiatric disease than those with a surgical one. Best is an acute physical disease in a young man, quickly determined by recovery or death. Either will do, both are equally regarded. Following the definitions of Professor Marshall Marinker, disease is a pathological process, most often physical, as in throat infection or cancer of the bronchus, sometimes undetermined in origin, as in schizophrenia. The quality which identifies disease is some deviation from a biological norm. There is objectivity about disease which doctors are able to see, touch, measure, smell. Diseases are valued as the central facts in the medical view. According to Thomas R. Engue, healing is an intensely personal, subjective experience involving a reconciliation of the meaning an individual ascribes to distressing events with his or her perception of wholeness as a person. Healing involves achieving or acquiring wholeness as a person. If you become whole again, Kubler-Ross observed, you are healed. For Castle, to be whole again is to be in relationship to yourself, is to be in relationship to your body, to the culture and significant others. To be whole as a person is to be whole amongst others, and the respondents described wholeness of personhood as involving physical, emotional, intellectual, social and spiritual aspects of human experience. Let us now look into how the concepts of health, illness, sickness, disease and well-being are compiled together into a subject heading as medical sociology in the following section. Medical sociology brings sociological perspective, theories and methods to the very study of health and medical practice. What makes medical sociology important is the critical role social factors play in determining the health of individuals, groups, and the larger society. Social conditions and situations not only promote the possibility of illness and disability, but also enhance prospects for disease prevention and health maintenance. Referring to the work of Emile Durkheim, it can be seen that it is one of the first socio-medical treatises, that is Suicide, where he tried to assess the point of people's dislocation within the society that is taking a heavy toll on their lives. Max Weber, in his work, The Protestant Ethics and Spirit of Capitalism, too, viewed the dislocation caused in the society, which led to the transition in the cultural beliefs of the religious groups and how it affected the life chances, that is, the mortality rate and the morbidity rate of the people. Medical sociology comprises of different elements such as social epidemiology, the study of socio-economic, demographic and behavioral factors in the causes of disease and mortality. Development and organizational dynamics of occupations and professions in healthcare, hospitals, health maintenance and long-term care organization. This includes inter-organizational relationships between patients and physicians. The reaction of societies to illness, including cultural meanings and normative expectations. The social politics, social movements, politics and economic conditions that shape and are shaped by health and disease within countries as well as in comparative international context. Medical sociology has not only helped to create focus on the different patterns and ways, ideas and practices by which one can develop the field of medicine, but it has also helped to create an awareness among the people about their own health standards. Different countries through different periods of time have helped to develop their health standards. According to Anita Ahluwalia, sociologists in India have more or less neglected the sociology of medicine as a field of study. Their interest in the field of medicine is relatively new. In the course of studying the various aspects of social life, sociologists have been struck by the social character of the phenomenon connected with health and sickness. It was notified that the field of medicine involves a number of individuals interacting with one another in a social milieu, and this interaction follows a certain pattern which is determined by the surrounding society. The process of socialization going in society ensures that with the handing over of norms and values from one generation to another, every individual knows how he should conduct himself in interacting with other individuals. In this way, the interaction of individuals in the sphere of medicine is affected by the general culture of society. Therefore, for the sociologist, health and sickness are not isolated from general social life. They are related to other spheres of society such as religion, law, politics, bureaucracy, social stratification, morality, and philosophy. Therefore, it is the work of medical sociology to study the society's medical health. Its awareness to different issues suggest ways of coping up with the growing medical problems. To help in the policy making areas related to the health of the mass, to make the mass aware of their own medical rights. Many citizens of India in the remote villages don't know that birth of a newborn babies are now done free of cost in the government hospitals, making the citizens aware that they must not be cheated of their money by the doctors. To make awareness among the people about the re-emergence of many infectious diseases, again in this 21st century, like HIV, Ebola, Lassa fever, the Marburg virus, cholera, yellow fever and diphtheria, and the ways of coping with it. Medical anthropology is a subfield of anthropology that draws upon social, cultural, biological and linguistic anthropology to better understand those factors which influence health and well-being. The experience and distribution of illness, the prevention and treatment of sickness, healing processes, the social relations of therapy management, and the cultural importance and utilization of pluralistic medical systems. The discipline of medical anthropology draws upon many different theoretical approaches. It is as attentive to popular health culture as bioscientific epidemiology and the social construction of knowledge and politics of science as scientific discovery and hypothesis testing. Medical anthropologists examine how the health of individuals, larger social formations, and the environment are affected by interrelationships between humans and other species, cultural norms and social institutions, micro and macro politics, and forces of globalization as each of these affects local worlds. The various subfields of medical anthropology are ethnomedicine, medical ecology, biocultural medical anthropology. Lat Williams noted that ethnomedicine refers to the study of traditional medical practice, which is concerned with the cultural interpretation of health, diseases, and illness, and also addresses the healthcare seeking process and healing practices. The practice of ethnomedicine is a complex, multidisciplinary system constituting the use of plants, spirituality, and the natural environment, and has been the source of healing for people for millennia. According to the data released by World Health Organization, ethnomedicine has maintained its popularity in all regions of the developing world, and its use is rapidly expanding in the industrialized countries. For example, in China, traditional herbal preparation account for 30 to 50% of the total medicinal consumption. In Ghana, Mali, Nigeria, and Zambia, the first-line treatment for 60% of children with malaria is the use of herbal medicine. In San Francisco, London, and South Africa, 70% of people living with HIV/AIDS use traditional medicine. Today, the annual global market for herbal medicine stands at over $60 billion. Medical ecology is an emerging science that defines those aspects of the environment that have a direct bearing on human health. The concept of ecosystem functions and services helps to describe global processes that contribute to our well-being, helping to cleanse the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat. Environmental degradation often leads to alterations in these aspects, leading to various states of ill health. The term medical ecology was first coined by eminent microbiologist René Dubos, who related medical science with the concept of natural systems. According to him, human health and illness are directly related with the environmental degradation, its effects on human beings, and the other negative aspects which affects the quality of air that we breathe, the water we use, as well as the food we consume. Environmental degradation often leads to various illness and affects the health and well-being of individuals. According to Townshend, the concept of ecosystem functions and services helps us to describe and define the global processes that contribute to our well-being, helping to cleanse the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the kind of food we eat. In fact, according to medical ecology, humans are the integral part of nature, while at the same time in control of nature. Most of the time, human beings are unaware of how their health is connected to the rest of the activities they perform in their ecosystem. Biocultural theory related to the anthropological value of holism is an integration of both biological anthropology and social cultural anthropology. The use of biocultural framework can be viewed as the application of a theoretical lens through which disease and embodiment are integrated. This way of understanding takes local cultural views and understanding of illness and disease and the local practices of traditional or biomedical healing. This integrative work requires a significant focus on methods and an openness to different, often competing theoretical paradigms. Studying health and healing from a biocultural perspective takes illness and disease and puts it in the context of how a culture embodies the illness they feel as a result of the disease. There are three different approaches to biocultural research. Number one, biological. Biology matters this approach and focuses on evolution and how it influences disease. Number two, cultural. Culture matters this approach and focuses on the interpretation and explanation of illness. Number three, critical. Inequality matters this approach and focuses on how inequality shapes disease in society. Thus, a biocultural approach can be understood as a feedback system through which the biology and culture interact. Biology allows certain behaviors to exist, and in turn, those behaviors influence biological traits. Through the understanding of both the biological and cultural implications of disease and embodiment, healing becomes a cultural product, something that makes sense within a particular cultural context. Biocultural research involves integrating how culture approach health and healing based on gender, class, age, education, and their own traditional experience with illness and healing. Therefore, as a subfield of cultural anthropology, medical anthropology has emerged as a need to describe and define human health in society from a cultural context. In Western biomedicine, panels of medical experts have to agree about how to label and classify health problems according to scientific criteria. The International Classification of Diseases is a major source for coding health problems according to Western biomedical standards. It analyzes the general health situations of population groups and is used to monitor the major incidences of diseases across different countries and their populations. it is made as per the Western biomedical standard. Anthropologists have discovered many health problems around the world, often referred to as culture-specific syndromes. A culture-specific syndrome is a health problem with a set of symptoms associated with a particular culture. Social factors such as stress, fear, or shock often are the underlying causes of culture-specific syndromes. Biophysical symptoms may be involved, and culture-specific syndromes can be fatal. Somatization or embodiment refers to the process through which the body absorbs social stress and manifests symptoms of suffering. All cultures have systems of health beliefs to explain what causes illness, how it can be cured or treated, and who should be involved in the process. The extent to which patients perceive patient education as having cultural relevance for them can have a profound effect on their reception to information provided and their willingness to use it. Roger P. Worthington and Anupriya Gogne noted that for many people, culture, belief, and social norms exert a stabilizing positive influence on the people. There are many situations where someone's personal expectations differ significantly from the accepted social norms. In these situations, individual autonomy can be directly challenged. The result of such challenges can negatively affect the health and well-being. For example, it becomes difficult for patients with immature defense mechanisms to deal with their inner conflict. Such an experience within an individual can be damaging and can lead to somatic disturbances which are often difficult to treat. Patients with culture-bound symptoms are not uncommon within primary care in India or in other Asian countries and communities. Thus, culture influences the classification of one's disease, and this classification of health problems varies from one culture to another. Many factors combine together to affect the health of individuals and communities. Whether people are healthy or not is determined by their circumstances and environment. To a large extent, factors such as where we live, the state of our environment, genetics, our income and educational level, and our relationship with friends and family all have considerable impacts on health, whereas the more commonly considered factors such as the access and use of health care services often have less of an impact. The determinants of health include the social and economic environment, the physical environment, and the person's individual characteristics and behaviors. Social scientists have made significant strides in shedding light on the basic social and cultural structures and processes that influence health. Social and cultural factors influence health by affecting exposure and vulnerability to disease, risk-taking behaviors, the effectiveness of health promotion efforts, and the access to, availability of, and quality of health care. Social and cultural factors also play a role in shaping perceptions of and responses to health problems and the impact of poor health on individuals' lives and well-being. In addition, such factors contribute to understanding societal and population processes such as current and changing rates of morbidity, survival, and mortality. Numerous reports from the Institute of Medicine and National Research Council have pointed to the importance of social and cultural factors for health and the opportunities for improving health through a better understanding of mechanisms linking the social and cultural environment to specific health outcomes. To realize these opportunities, social science research related to health must be further developed and ultimately integrated into interdisciplinary multi-level studies of health. Educational attainment of a person is also many times linked with one's health. The relationship between lower educational attainment and worse health outcomes occurs throughout the life course. The levels of prestige, authority, power, and other resources that are associated with different positions in the labor market also affect the health status of an individual. Thus, it can be well portrayed that socio-economic status affects the health structure of an individual to a great extent. In these conditions, where the individual faces less amount of motivation and no other alternative, then it is religion which guides and entrusts their faith so that the person regain their mental state back and can heal himself or herself to strive further in life. It can be summed up that religious beliefs thus encourages and motivates the people to face all odds in life. It's in this way that healing among the individuals is promoted in the society. According to Jain and others, in their article, Burden and Pattern of Illnesses Among the Tribal Communities in Central India, a report from a community health program, tribals are the most marginalized social category in the country, and there is little and scattered information on the actual burden and pattern of illnesses they suffer from. This community-based program, known as Janshastho Sahyog, has been serving people in over 2,500 villages in rural central India. It was found that the tribals had significantly higher proportion of tuberculosis, severe hypertension, illnesses that require major surgery as a primary therapeutic intervention, and cancers than non-tribals. The proportions of people with rheumatic heart disease, sickle cell disease, and epilepsy were not significantly different between different social groups. Nutritional levels of tribals were poor. Tribals in central India suffer a disproportionate burden of both communicable and non-communicable diseases amidst worrisome levels of undernutrition. According to Manush Misra, the different tribal communities in India represents a heterogeneous group. There is considerable variation in the context of socio-economic life, custom, tradition, behavior, and practices. Similarly, variations are also there in the context of demographic features. There is one factor common among all tribal communities except Northeast tribals. It is low literacy rate and poor health status and indigenous method of disease management. The tribal illiteracy has a close link between health and disease management. In a tribal community, for example, illness and the consequent management of disease is not always an individual or familial affair, but sometimes the decision about the nature of treatment is taken at the community level. In the tribal areas, in case of some specific diseases, not only the diseased person or his or her family, but the total village community is affected. It has also been noted that among the tribals there is high incidence of communicable diseases like tuberculosis, hepatitis, sexually transmitted diseases, malaria, diarrhea and dysentery, jaundice, parasitic infestation, viral and fungal infections, conjunctivitis, yaws, scabies, measles, leprosy, cough and cold, HIV/AIDS, etc., due to lack of sanitation and unhygienic living. Thus, the tribals have got their traditional healers who treat them whenever any tribal member suffers from any kind of pathology. Medicaid is a means-tested health and medical services program for certain individuals and families with low incomes and few resources. Medicaid and Medicare are two governmental programs that provide medical and health-related services to specific groups of people in the United States. They were part of President Lyndon Johnson's Great Society vision of a general social commitment to meeting individual health care needs. Medicare and Medicaid are social insurance programs that allow the financial burdens of illness to be shared among healthy and sick individuals and affluent and low-income families. Thus, programs like Medicare and Medicaid, which evolved in the year 1965, are acting as beneficiaries in the promotion of good health and healing and the eradication of disease from the society. If policies and initiatives like this will evolve in future, then the society can achieve a better health structure. Let us discuss about the health, illness and healing in this age of globalization in the next section. Globalization is the process of international integration arising from the interchange of worldviews, products, ideas, and other aspects of culture. It has been pointed out by many scholars that one major problem is the increasing internalization of health risk. However defined, this term has many dimensions, including economic, technological, political, social, scientific, and cultural aspects. The links between globalization and health are complex, and globalization is a multifaceted phenomenon that can affect health in myriad ways. Its consequences can be either direct at the level of whole populations, individuals, and healthcare delivery systems, or indirect through the economy and other factors such as education, sanitation, and water supply. The World Health Organization estimates that the death toll from tobacco abuse alone will reach 10 million a year over the next 2 decades. Up to 70% of these deaths caused by lung cancer, cardiovascular diseases, lung diseases, diabetes and many other tobacco-related ailments will occur in developing countries. The World Health Organization has estimated that by the year 2020, non-communicable diseases such as cancers, diabetes, obesity will cause about 2/3 of the global disease burden, up from 40% at present. This rapid increase again illustrates the globalized risk for conditions that are mainly caused by diet, even in less developed countries that have coexisted under nutrition. There were 151 million cases of diabetes worldwide in 2001, and this is estimated to increase by 46% to 2 to 1 million cases in 2010, with the steepest growth in the developing world. To conclude with the words of Angus Staton, that globalization would do much for global health if transmission from rich to poor countries could be accelerated. Therefore, health, healing, and illness are such issues which affect each and every individual's life. It can be surmised that people of all society expect a healthy life so that they can play their respective roles in the society. Religion do play an unavoidable role in the era of globalization and helps the members of the society to be healed both from their biological as well as mental distress. Thank you.